Hi everybody, it's been a while since I went on a walk, or took you on a walk anyways. It's an early morning, but they have already muckied up my sky and made it into this kind of a pea soup. Oh, there's a little bit of blue over there and some cumulus clouds over there. So maybe this will break up soon, hopefully. But we are getting green. Things are starting to bud, and what a beautiful day. It's actually quite warm. It's a perfect time for a walk and a talk. So did you guys ever watch that show? They did one and it was supposed to be a series. It was called I Am Number 4. And the reason why I started thinking about this, I was talking to my husband about this today, is that as I'm looking at the Tatarian society and all of this old architecture that clearly we didn't build it, not with the population that they tell us was here at the time. So something happened, some event happened. And when we look at that architecture, we see that the people who inhabited those buildings were not necessarily us, but larger and more grand. And I would say more highly intelligent. Because when you look at the architecture, you see, wow, we've been focusing on the pyramid. How did they build the pyramid? When they've done, radar on the pyramid is only a tip of a structure that's under there. It isn't. We've been looking at these ones that they've been wanting us to look at, Oh, look here, look at the ancient civilization. We can go back further, but we are not looking at what is around us, the past civilization architecture. And how did they even build those buildings that they say were built in? And then they only kept them up for, that were built like from, 1800s, 1900s. But we didn't continue with that architecture. We just went to a box, ugly. Everything that we tore down, we put up something hideous in place. So we're not the same people. We don't have the same abilities, or at least we're not the same people in remembrance and understanding and intelligence. And that you gotta look at, look at what they're doing. I mean, like, look at the sky. Look at what they're doing. And we know what's in there is heavy metals and poisons and nanoprobes and nanotechnology and blood and DNA and stuff. Like, look at that soup. And then our food, how they put metals in our food and you can actually pull them out with a magnet. No, people, we are not even close to the intelligence or understanding of what we once were, or what we could be. MMS, people, actually clears out heavy metals out of your body. So please look it up. It will keep your head straight and help you to be able to deal with what's going on. I recommend that you go back to some of the ones that, even the Mark of the Beast video that I made, talks a lot about medical and shots and vaccinations, all of this stuff. I know that you may have heard it all, but I have a unique way of looking at things, a little bit different, I think, than other people do. So, I mean, if you're interested, please check them out. I'm not trying to self-promote, it's just that certain videos, I believe that were inspired, not by my intelligence, but by a higher. And I believe that was one of them. And I hope this one will be too. So I Am Number 4, the movie. Let's go back to that. going to be a blockbuster, and they were going to have all of these series. It was going to be like a Harry Potter, right? But it was going to be an alien invasion. And it flopped after the first movie, but there was something in that movie that just, it compelled me. So I started reading all the books, and I don't know how many there were. There was, I don't know, about 10 or 12 books in the series, plus, you know how they do that? They do, you know, one that is just like 50 pages kind of book. Like they did all of these mini stories, like side stories. So there was probably about 20, 30 books in that series. Really interesting, well worth a read. It was meant for mainly teenagers. It was that type of, but yet it had, I think, a lot of truth in it as to what we're going through. Because, you know, that's what they do. They put it in literature and books. And so let me tell you the story of this. I Am 4. You know, it starts off where there is like these 10 children that came from, it's like a Superman kind of story, right? These 10 children escaped the destruction of their planet because these demon-like entities or beings, and they were physical beings, came and raided their country one day when they had a big festival. Everybody was out and they bombed them and they destroyed this planet to the point that they took all life off of it. It was dead. And everybody, of course, the inhabitants. But it wasn't just that. They destroyed this. All of this. They destroyed everything that was living in that book. But these children escaped in this spaceship and they came here to Earth and they just lived a normal life. But these monsters, these beings, this demonic things, followed them because these children they were connected to their planet and they had abilities from their planet. You know, they could read minds and they could telekinesis and they could do all of these kind of things. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of fantasy in there, but I think there's a bit of reality too. So these kids who had the abilities, which many people, I'm not saying that the concept, we know that this is all fantasy, this part, right? But the concept of coming in and destroying civilization, these evil demon-like creatures. Watch the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because now they had and in the books, because it didn't really get into it in the movies, because like the movie was just, you know, an hour and 20 minutes, something like that, right? Can't really give that much. But in the books, these aliens, whatever you want to call, had set up in every avenue of this planet, here, Earth. And they had been here a lot longer than the children who escaped to Earth. And they were in our news stations, and in our governments, and in our food productions, and in our religions. They were everywhere. They were causing people to hate each other. They were causing all of the, you know how it's man versus woman. It's never let's work together as a team. How we've had so much offended people who are offended with everything in these books. They were the ones who were creating that. And when you start researching our history, like the women's movement, you know, that was a CIA opt, right? It was planned. It was all a bunch of these rich women from those families that were marching. And it was just a photo op. They didn't believe in any of that. They didn't even really know what they were doing, actually. They were asked by their husbands to go do that. Like, it's seriously. It was to destroy the family unit. And that's how these monsters work. These demons work. They destroy your fabric of your society. You go through all of the past records of the buildings that clearly could not have been built with the population. What happened to the population? What happened around that time? We know what happened at the influenza in 1920. I mean, it depends on where you look. There's up to like 64 million people, they say. Other ones say 13. It just, you can't get clear numbers. Truly, it's really difficult to get anything, clear numbers on how many people were killed by that. But look at the population. They say that more soldiers died in the Second World War from the vaccinations than from the war. And that's saying a lot, since that was such a huge death toll. But let me say that again. More soldiers died from the vaccinations they gave them to protect them than the war. Vaccinations have been used throughout the last, we can see that they were doing it, you know, as early as like 1812. So we can see that they've been vaccinating us to create an epidemic, to kill off masses of people for 200 years. All you have to do is start like investigating. You know, that's where these old books and that, because they can't make all that up. They can wipe our memories, make it so that we don't really know who we are, what our history is, what this planet was like, and think that we are just a bunch of greedy people that only care about commerce and buying and stuff like that, when we are, as a human race, we are a special being, and we are not that. It's not us. We don't want to have war. We don't want to poison our food. This is something else that's doing this to us and making us think that that's what we want. Because they've taken us from now 3 months in the United States, from 3 months old, and they've taken our children and raised their children. And we willingly let that happen because we don't want to be bored. Because we'd be bored if we were at home. It's too hard of a job. I've heard so many things from women saying throughout the decades of why they go to work, even though it's destructive to their families. Even though by the time their kids get like 12 years old, they can't talk to their children anymore because their kids have been so brainwashed. And then the separation starts. And then you have a complete generation that has no respect for you and didn't learn anything from you, was only taught by these monsters. And now, well, you know, we're hearing that they're going to come in if you don't have more bathrooms, a bathroom for everyone. What if you have 3 kids and you live? The truth will set you free. The truth is there for us to find of what's happening, of who the enemy is. And it's our news stations, it's our TV, it's our governments, it's our medical, it's the pharmaceutical companies, which happen to have all the poisons that they put on our fields. It's the pilots that know that they're doing what they're doing, that they're dumping that poison on us. If any of you are willingly going along with this system, you're going against your own family, your own people. And it will come back to you, all of you policemen that think that you have a right to beat somebody because they are out and they're breaking curfew. It's against our God-given human rights. And this planet is based on God. Whatever you believe, whether you believe that there's aliens coming from another planet that's destroying us and want to overtake us, or you believe, like I believe, that we live under a firmament, And there is a fight. There's a fight from good and evil. There's Satan, who has a great deal of people that are working on his part to destroy mankind. Because mankind is their enemy. And they're mad. They're like a lion seeking to devour us. And they are doing it. And they're doing it quickly. And we're still sitting in our homes. And we're still following. And we're still obeying. And then they're going to go in your house. And they're going to take your children. And then you're going to fight. And then you're going to say no. And they're going to kill you. Because they're taking your children. Unless we stand up. Unless we start actually, all of the stuff that they've taught us, all of the movies that they've shown us, all of this stuff has showed us what they plan on doing to us. And they're doing it. It's all been there. And I don't know about you, but as a Christian, I know what Jesus did. And he wasn't peaceful, not to the degree that Christianity tries to make it out. He was not peaceful. He said he came to bring a sword, not peace. He came to divide a nation. I'm not saying to pick up your sword and start going and killing people, but we got a really bad idea of what Christ was. He whipped them in the temple for the disgusting things that they were selling and having merchants going in the temple of God. He whipped them and overturned their tables. And yes, he stood up and he died for it. And he said, turn the other cheek. But you're not getting, he was standing up to them when they hit him in the first place in the cheek. And they said, turn the other cheek, because we're not to attack first. But be firm and stand your ground, as I am. But what am I able to do? I'm just an old lady that sees and even my family doesn't see. Even my family's, my daughter's wearing a mask when she goes out. Oh, I think you probably do need to have a mask by all of the, that. But I'm not going to wear one now just because it would be like saying, I agree with this. And I'm not going to walk on a line. I'm not going to follow an arrow. Because that's saying I agree with this. And I'm fine with this. I'm not fine with this. I'm not fine with any of this. We are soldiers. Christians are soldiers. Let me say that again. Christians are soldiers. Yes, it is with the Word of God, but the Word of God also tells us to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves. So all of you people who think that, Christians are, just stupid people, they don't see, they don't look, you're mistaken. Christianity is like that. A religion is like that, but not Christians. Not Christ followers are not like that. We are to learn. We are to find out what's happening to protect ourselves. I'm thinking the wind is too much. If we don't start working together and stop dismissing everybody just because they don't have the exact belief that we have, we will never be able to unite. We'll never be able to protect our territory. We'll never be able to withstand the slaughter that's about to happen. Because believe me, that's going to happen, and it's going to happen really soon. It's going to happen really soon if we don't. And maybe it's too late. I don't know. Is it too late? Is it too late? Are they just going to bomb us if we fight against it? Possibly. Possibly, if we stand up and as a nation, as a people. Possibly. I'm not telling people to go to war, but I'm telling people there's a level of passivity that we are past that now. We can't be passive anymore. We can't be just ignoring what's going on. We have to be vocal, and we have to stand up for our rights. And we have to try to encourage other people to stand up for their rights. And we need to do this together, or else we're gone. Just like I am for. But going back to that, they were in everything in those books. They were in everything. And at the end of the books, they won. The people. The people did win. But New York was taken out. All of these different cities were taken out. And I think that happened, maybe early 1800s. I think that's what happened. I think that is the story of what happened here in planet Earth. But we had a heavy toll, and a lot of people died. Because of that, we don't have a memory of it anymore, and we don't realize the fights and the wars that have been going on since Noah's time, since that. Because when you look in those books too, when you start looking at, all of that is there. Like the part about Christians, about Christ and everything is all there in the book. So when you go back to these older books and you start looking at them, I'm not talking about the books of I Am For, but I'm talking about when you start going through the archives of books that are from the 1400s and stuff like that. We have them, right? And you start following the pictures or reading them. I think if we're just passive Christians, in that sense, we are passively accepting what's about to happen. And I don't think Christ was like that. There was a reason why Christ was executed. He was a threat. He wasn't a threat because he was just making everybody sing Kumbaya. He was a threat because he was raising the spirits of the people to make them realize what was happening to them, and that they had power, and they could take back the power, and they had the power of the Almighty God, and they had the right to do that. They had the right to rebel, and that's what they did. So then the Christians started preaching in the streets and preaching all over and making converts all over, and people rebelled against what they were, the mandate, and how they were oppressing the people at that time. And when Jesus said, pick up your sword, yes, he was talking about the Bible, but he meant physical sword. They actually wore swords at that time. One of the apostles cut off the ear of one of the soldiers that came to arrest Jesus. At that time, he said, no, those who live by the sword will die by the sword. But there was protection. You have the right to protect yourself and your family. And the more communities that awake and stand outside of this society, the better, the more people that wake up. Unfortunately, so many people are asleep because they're in a chemtrail fluoride coma. So us who are awake have to work. Because if we don't, well, it is going to be Armageddon here soon. It is going to be that fight soon. And are we just supposed to, will we know what's going to happen? We know the Bible tells us nothing new under the sun, because this has happened before. We've been in this war before. Oh, my eternal soul, I know, is safe in the hands of God. But do we have to passively sit back and allow them to take our bodies, take our children, take our world? These evil demons that may look pretty, because they know how they're great thespians, actors. Do you know there was a time when actors, did not allow there to be women. This isn't like that long ago. Women weren't actors. Actor was only a thespian, was only men, and men played women's roles. And they did a really good job. And it wasn't until like the, early about 100 years ago that they started adding women, or did they? Because you look at a lot of the silver screen women, I know this is a little bit off, but you look at the silver screen in women like Betty Davis, Greta Garbo. Look at all of these women. You will see they all had husky voices. They said, oh, they smoked so much and they had husky voices. Where did they have husky voices? It's amazing how all the women had Adam's apples back then. The silver screen that every man was drooling over, wishing their woman would look like that. How they warped us into believing something that wasn't true, and they never changed. Oh, there may be some women who are actresses today, but did they really change that much from their long-standing hundreds of years of being thespians and had a rule of only men? I don't know. I really don't know, because when you start to investigate these people and look at pictures, it's just like looking at the old books. You see things, You start to see every now and then Adam's apples and what is that? A dominus strip that men have that women don't have. That line that comes up from your pelvis, because their pelvis has to attach to their tailbone, where women it doesn't, and so they have a different line in their right waist, and their belly buttons are different. You start looking at that, you start noticing that all the people that you really have probably had crushes on over the past, 20, 30 years have all of these things I'm talking about. And then we look at what is the news people? I'm not saying that they're all men, but what are they, if not actors? And what are the politicians, if not actors? So much has been exposed. We can see the deception, and I think me going through all of this about those is just proving more and more the things that I caught from the movies. Like Avatar and stuff like that, going in and destroying planetary civilizations completely destroying them. They've been showing us over and over and over again what they were doing. And the people that are in front line, the movie stars, I come from a time when they used to come up with cover stories all the time about who these people were, how they became, like Marilyn Monroe. She was in a dime store, drugstore, and she was just having a milkshake, and lo and behold, somebody walked in and oh, you are so beautiful, I'm going to make you into a top star. But then you find out later on that she was really raised on a military base, and that she had top clearance to be able to go into different places. Why she was acting. And all of these people you find all come from the same place and the same people. And then you start doing research on lineage, and these people are all related to each other, like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. and Obama. They're all related. And all the actresses, all of the actresses and actors are all children of the other. It's a generational thing, sort of like a Vespian. It was a generational thing. It's a culture, you see. Vespians are a culture. They're not just actors. They're a completely separate culture from you and I. And that's why, you may have had somebody that you knew that was a really good actor, a really good singer, and they only got so far. They never could make it big. They kind of got big locally and stuff like that, but they never got big. Because do they really even let any of us in to their game, to their boys' game? Do they really let us in? And what happens to the ones that truly, what have we seen throughout the ages, the ones that did come in? We hear all these horrible stories. That's when we start hearing the stories, is from those ones. The other ones never told us because they were part of it. Well, I don't know. I've asked for God's Spirit to direct this video, and I hope that He has. I don't know what to do. Personally, I don't know what to do, but I do know that what we are doing isn't working. I know that we're fighting against each other is only going to cause us our destruction. And we have to live up to morals and rights. And that's not just Christian. I don't care who you are. You want to be treated good and you want to treat people good. We need to wake up the masses before it's too late. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that He is the Son of God and He came down for our salvation, and that anybody who puts their faith in Him will have everlasting life. But also to those who put their faith in Him, He gives eyes to see. And we can see what's going on. And we know that there's a spiritual battle along with a physical battle that's happening to us. And being Christians, belonging to God, we are warriors. Blessings to everybody. I love you all, whether you're Christian or not, and I hope that you find Christ before it's too late, because there is a battle brewing and there are choices to make. Stand up, stand up.